Imagine you're standing in front of a row of dominoes. The first domino is tiny, just 2 inches tall. But here's what most people don't know. A domino can knock down another domino that's 50% larger than itself. So that 2-inch domino, it can knock down a 3-inch domino. That 3-inch domino can knock down a 4.5-inch domino, and on and on. Now here's where it gets wild. If you lined up just 29 dominoes, each one 50% larger than the last, by the time you got to the final domino, it would be as tall as the Empire State Building, from 2 inches to 1,454 feet, from something you can hold in your hand to something that dominates the New York skyline, all from knocking over one tiny domino. That's not a magic trick. That's mathematics. And it's the exact principle that separates wildly successful people from everyone else. Gary Keller built the largest real estate company in the world, Keller Williams, not by doing a million things, but by obsessively focusing on one thing at a time. And in his book, The One Thing, he reveals the question that changed everything for him. A question so simple, most people dismiss it, but so powerful, it can transform your entire life. Here it is. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Read that again, because that one question is about to change everything you thought you knew about success. See, we've been taught that success comes from balance, from multitasking, from doing more, work harder, hustle more, juggle everything. But Keller discovered the opposite is true. Extraordinary results don't come from doing more, they come from doing less. But doing that less thing with laser focus. While everyone else is scattered across a dozen priorities, successful people find their lead domino, the one thing that, when done, makes everything else easier or unnecessary. And they push that domino again and again and again. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to show you how to find your lead domino in every area of your life. Your career, your health, your relationships, your finances. You'll learn why multitasking is destroying your potential, why discipline is a lie, why willpower is wildly misunderstood, and why the pursuit of balance is keeping you stuck. This isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters and letting everything else fall away. Because the truth is, you don't have time for everything. But you do have time for the one thing that will change everything. Let's find it. Chapter 1. The Domino Effect. Let's start with a story that will change how you see success forever. In 2001, a college professor named Loren Whitehead decided to test the domino effect. He set up a series of dominoes, each one progressively larger, and he wanted to see just how far this could go. The results were staggering. He proved that with just 29 dominoes, you could knock down a domino the size of the Empire State Building. But here's what blew everyone's mind. If you extended that sequence to just 57 dominoes, the final domino would nearly reach the moon. From something you could fit in your pocket to something that spans 238,000 miles. That's not just interesting. That's the foundation of how success actually works. Gary Keller calls this success sequencing. It's the idea that extraordinary results come from doing the right things in the right order, one after another, building momentum with each step, not everything all at once, not randomly, sequentially. Think about it. When you look at someone wildly successful, you see the Empire State Building domino, the billion-dollar company, the best-selling book, the perfect body. But you don't see the tiny 2-inch domino they started with. J.K. Rowling didn't sit down and write 7 Harry Potter books at once. She wrote one page, then another, for years. And that tiny domino eventually knocked down a global phenomenon. Steve Jobs didn't build Apple, Pixar and the iPhone simultaneously. He focused on one thing at a time, the Mac, then the XT, then the iPod, each one a domino that made the next one possible. That's the secret. Success is not about doing a million things, it's about doing one thing so well that it sets up the next thing, and the next, and the next. But here's the problem. Most people never find their lead domino. They're working on 10 things at once, and none of them are moving. They're busy, stressed, overwhelmed, but not progressing. Why? Because they haven't asked the most important question, what's the one thing I can do right now that will make everything else easier or unnecessary? That question forces you to stop, to think, to identify what actually matters. And once you identify that one thing, everything changes. Keller shares a story about his own company. At one point, Keller Williams was growing, but not fast enough. They weren't recognized as a top player in their industry. So Keller gathered his team and asked, what's the one thing we can do this year that will transform how people see us? They brainstormed 100 ideas, then narrowed it to 10, then narrowed it to 1. The one thing? Keller would write a book on how to become an elite real estate agent. That's it. One book. 8 years later, that one book had become a national bestseller. It had spawned a series of books, and it had sold over 1 million copies. In an industry of about 1 million people, one thing changed everything. That's the domino effect. You don't need to knock down every domino at once. You just need to find the first one and push it. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. What's your lead domino right now? What's the one thing that, if you focused on it completely, would create a cascade of positive results in your life? Is it a skill you need to develop, a relationship you need to repair, a habit you need to build, a project you need to finish? Find that domino and push it. Because once it falls, the rest will follow. Chapter 2, the lies that hold you back. Before we go any further, we need to destroy some myths. Because there are 6 lies about success that almost everyone believes. And these lies are keeping you stuck. Lie, #1, everything matters equally. This is the biggest lie of all. We treat every task on our to-do list like it's equally important. Answer this email, go to this meeting, make this call, finish this report. But the truth? Not all things matter equally. Keller references the 80-20 principle, also known as the Pareto principle. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. But here's the kicker. If you go deeper, 80% of that 20% comes from an even smaller percentage. Eventually, you get down to the one thing that's driving almost everything. Most people ignore this. They spend equal time on unequal tasks, and they wonder why they're working so hard with so little to show for it. Lie hack 2, multitasking works. No, it doesn't. And the science is brutal on this. When you think you're multitasking, you're not. You're task switching. Your brain is rapidly shifting focus from one thing to another, and every time it switches, there's a cost. Studies show that multitasking reduces productivity by up to 40%. It increases errors. It drains mental energy. And it leaves you exhausted with nothing meaningful accomplished. Keller says it clearly. Multitasking is a lie. The most productive people don't do more things at once. They do one thing at a time with total focus. Lie, #3. A disciplined life is the key to success. This sounds true, and it's partially true, but it's incomplete. Keller argues that you don't need discipline in every area of your life. You just need discipline long enough to build a habit. Research shows it takes about 66 days to form a new habit. For 66 days, you need discipline. After that, the habit runs on autopilot. So you don't need to be disciplined forever, just long enough for the habit to take root. Lie #4, willpower is always available. Wrong. Willpower is like a battery. It drains throughout the day. In the morning, your willpower is full. By the afternoon, it's depleted. By the evening, it's gone. That's why you start the day with great intentions and end the day binge-watching Netflix with a bag of chips. Keller's advice? Do your most important work first. When your willpower is strongest, don't save it for later. Later, you'll have nothing left. Lie #5, a balanced life is achievable. This is the most controversial lie. And Keller's stance is radical. He says balance is a myth, and pursuing it will keep you from achieving extraordinary results. Why? Because extraordinary results require going to extremes. You can't be exceptional in your career while giving equal time to everything else. Something has to give. Keller calls this counterbalancing. You go out of balance in the short term to achieve something extraordinary. Then you rebalance. Think of it like juggling. Some balls are rubber. If you drop them, they bounce back. But some balls are glass. If you drop them, they shatter. Work is a rubber ball. Family, health, and relationships are glass. So you can let work slide temporarily. But don't drop the glass balls. Lie #6, big is bad. We're taught to be realistic, to think small, to not aim too high. But Keller flips this. He says thinking big is essential, because big thinking leads to big action, and big action leads to big results. When you think small, you get small results. When you think big, even if you fall short, you still achieve more than the person who aimed low. So those are the 6 lies, and if you believe any of them, they're sabotaging your success. The truth: not everything matters equally. Multitasking is a productivity killer. Discipline is temporary. Willpower is limited. Balance is a myth. And big thinking is the only path to extraordinary results. Now that we've cleared the lies, let's talk about the truth. Chapter 3, the focusing question, here it is. The single most powerful tool Gary Keller has ever used, the focusing question: what's the one thing I can do, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? This question is deceptively simple, but its power is extraordinary. Let's break it down. What's the one thing I can do? This forces you to narrow your focus. Not 10 things, not 5 things. One thing. Most people have a to-do list with 20 items. But a to-do list is just a survival list. It's everything you could do. What you need is a success list. A list with one thing on it, the one thing that, when done, makes the biggest impact. Such that by doing it, this is about leverage. It's not just any task. It's the task that has a multiplying effect. Keller uses the analogy of a lever. Archimedes said, "Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, and I'll move the world." Your one thing is that lever. It's the action that moves everything else. Everything else will be easier or unnecessary. This is the magic. When you do the right one thing, other tasks either become simpler or they disappear entirely. For example, if your one thing is hire a great assistant, suddenly a dozen tasks you were doing yourself are handled by someone else. Everything else becomes easier or unnecessary. Now here's how you use this question. You can apply it at 2 levels, macro and micro. Macro: what's my big picture goal? What's the one thing I need to do in the next 5 years to move toward that goal? Micro: what's the one thing I need to do today, right now, to move toward that goal? Keller shares an example. Let's say your big goal is to become financially free. Macro question: what's the one thing I can do in the next 5 years to become financially free? Answer: build a business that generates passive income. Then you zoom in. What's the one thing I can do this year to build that business? Answer. Develop a product. What's the one thing I can do this month to develop that product? Answer. Finish the prototype. What's the one thing I can do this week to finish the prototype? Answer. Complete the design. What's the one thing I can do today to complete the design? Answer. Spend 3 hours refining the blueprint. See how that works? You start with the big picture and work your way down to a single action you can take today. And every day, you ask the question again, what's the one thing I can do today? That's how you build momentum. That's how you create the domino effect. But here's the catch. The focusing question only works if you're willing to ignore everything else. And that's hard. Because everything else is screaming for your attention. Emails, meetings, phone calls, distractions. But Keller says, until my one thing is done, everything else is a distraction. That's the mindset. Treat everything else as noise. Protect your one thing like your life depends on it. Because in a way it does. Your success depends on it. Your progress depends on it. Your results depend on it. So here's your action step. Right now, ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do today, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Write it down. And then do it. Before anything else, before checking email, before scrolling social media, before meetings, do your one thing first, and watch how everything else falls into place. Chapter 4, Time Blocking. Protect your one thing. Knowing your one thing is powerful, but knowing it isn't enough. You need to protect it. Because the world doesn't care about your one thing. The world wants your attention, now. Your boss wants a report. Your coworker wants to chat. Your phone wants to notify you. Your email wants to be checked. And if you let all of that control you, your one thing will never get done. That's why Keller swears by one strategy above all others, time blocking. Time blocking is simple. You schedule a specific block of time every day to work on your one thing, and during that block, nothing else exists. No emails, no meetings, no phone calls, no interruptions, just you and your one thing. Keller recommends 4 hours every day, reserved exclusively for your most important work. Now, I know what you're thinking. 4 hours? I don't have 4 hours. Yes, you do. You just don't protect them. Think about it. How much time do you spend in pointless meetings, scrolling social media, watching TV, reacting to other people's priorities? If you audit your day, you'll find 4 hours. You just have to claim them. And here's the key. You need to block that time at the same time every day. Make it a ritual. Keller blocks his time from 8 a.m. to noon, every single day, no exceptions. His team knows. His family knows. Everyone knows that during those 4 hours, he's unavailable. And during those 4 hours, he makes more progress than most people make in a week. Why? Because he's not distracted. He's not multitasking. He's doing one thing with complete focus. Now, here's where most people mess this up. They time block, but then they let interruptions in. This will just take a minute. Can I ask you a quick question? This is urgent. No. Once you let one interruption in, the floodgates open, and your time block is destroyed. So Keller recommends creating physical and psychological barriers. Physical barriers: close your door. Put a sign up that says, "Do not disturb. Working on my one thing." Turn off your phone. Close your email. Work in a place where no one can find you. Psychological barriers: tell people in advance. From 8 to noon, I'm unavailable. If you need me, reach out after noon. Set expectations. People will respect your boundaries if you communicate them clearly. But what if you can't block 4 hours? Start smaller. Block 1 hour. Just 1 hour a day where you do nothing but your one thing. 1 hour a day is 365 hours a year. That's 9 full work weeks dedicated to your most important work. And here's what happens. Once you experience the power of focused time, you'll want more. You'll find ways to protect 2 hours, then 3, then 4. Because focused time is addictive. When you work without distractions, you enter a state of flow. Time disappears. You're fully immersed, and you produce your best work. That's the zone where extraordinary results happen. Now, time blocking isn't just for work. Keller says you need to time block for everything important. Time block for your health. Schedule your workouts. Non-negotiable. Time block for your relationships. Schedule date nights, family dinners, time with friends. Time block for planning. Every week, block time to review your goals and plan your week. Because if it's not on your calendar, it won't happen. Keller says people do not decide their futures. They decide their habits. And their habits decide their futures. Time blocking is the habit that makes all other habits possible. So here's your action step. Right now, look at your calendar. Find 1 hour tomorrow. Block it. Label it my one thing. And tomorrow, protect that hour like your success depends on it. Because it does. Chapter 5. The 3 commitments. If you want extraordinary results, you need to make 3 commitments. These aren't suggestions. They're requirements. Commitment hack 1. Follow the path to mastery. Mastery isn't about being the best in the world. It's about being the best you can be at your one thing. And mastery requires a path. Keller breaks it down into 4 steps. Step 1. Choose your one thing. What will you master? You can't master everything, so pick one thing and commit to it. Step 2. Get good at it. This is the beginner phase. You're learning, you're making mistakes, you're building competence. Step 3. Get great at it. This is where you move from competent to skilled. You're refining, you're improving, you're becoming exceptional. Step 4. Maintain greatness. Mastery isn't a destination, it's a practice. You have to keep working at it, or you'll lose it. But here's the key. Most people never reach step 3 or 4. Why? Because they quit. They try something for a few weeks, don't see immediate results, and move on to the next thing. But Keller says mastery requires patience. It takes time. And most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10. So commit to the long game. Don't chase quick wins. Chase mastery. Commitment hack 2. Move from E to P. What does that mean? E stands for entrepreneurial. It's the exciting, creative phase. Coming up with ideas, starting new projects, the fun stuff. P stands for purposeful. It's the disciplined, focused phase. Executing, following through, the hard stuff. Most people live in E. They start a million things but finish nothing. But extraordinary results require P. You have to move from dreaming to doing, from ideas to execution. Keller says ideas are a dime a dozen. Execution is priceless. So stop brainstorming, stop planning, stop preparing, start doing. Commitment 3. Live the accountability cycle. This is the cycle that ensures you stay on track. Step 1. Set your one thing. Be clear. Be specific. Step 2. Block time for it. Protect that time fiercely. Step 3. Track your progress. Did you do it? If not, why not? Step 4. Adjust. What got in the way? How can you prevent that next time? Repeat. Every day. Every week. Every month. Accountability is what separates people who have goals from people who achieve goals. And the best way to stay accountable? Find an accountability partner. Someone who will check in with you. Someone who will call you out when you slack off. Keller had an accountability partner for years. Every week, they'd meet and ask each other, "Did you do your one thing?" If the answer was no, they'd dig into why, and they'd problem solve together That accountability kept them both on track. So find someone, a friend, a colleague, a coach, someone who will hold you accountable to your one thing. Because left to our own devices, we'll always find an excuse. But when someone else is watching, we show up. These 3 commitments aren't easy. They require discipline. They require sacrifice. They require saying no to a lot of things. But they're the commitments that create extraordinary results. So ask yourself, are you ready to commit? Or are you just interested in success? Because there's a difference. Interest fades. Commitment endures. Chapter 6. The 4 thieves. You've identified your one thing. You've blocked time for it. You've made the 3 commitments. But there are 4 enemies waiting to sabotage you. Keller calls them the 4 thieves. And if you don't guard against them, they'll steal your success. Thief, #1. Inability to say no. This is the biggest thief of all. Every day, people will ask things of you. Can you help with this project? Can you attend this meeting? Can you take on this responsibility? And if you say yes to everything, you'll have no time left for your one thing. Keller says when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So every time someone asks for your time, ask yourself, is this more important than my one thing? If the answer is no, then say no. Politely, firmly, but clearly. I'd love to help, but I'm committed to something else right now. Saying no is uncomfortable, but it's essential. Because every yes to something unimportant is a no to something that matters. Thief, #2. Fear of chaos. When you focus on your one thing, other things will slip. Your inbox will pile up. Your house might be messy. Some tasks won't get done, and that will feel chaotic. It will feel wrong. You'll be tempted to stop and clean up the mess. Don't. Keller says, when you're pursuing extraordinary results, some things will always be underserved. That's not failure. That's focus. You're choosing to let less important things go so you can excel at the most important thing. And once you achieve that important thing, you can circle back to the mess. But if you try to do everything at once, you'll do nothing well. Thief hack 3. Poor health habits. You can't achieve extraordinary results if you're exhausted, sick, or burned out. Keller emphasizes that your energy is your most valuable resource, and if you don't protect it, everything falls apart. So you need to prioritize sleep, 7 to 8 hours minimum, nutrition, eat food that fuels you, not junk that drains you, exercise, move your body daily. Keller says, your body is the vehicle that carries you toward your goals. If the vehicle breaks down, you're stuck. So protect your health like it's your most important asset. Because it is. Thief #4. Environment doesn't support your goals. Your environment is either working for you or against you. If your workspace is cluttered, distracting, and chaotic, you won't do your best work. If the people around you are negative, unsupportive, or dream-killing, they'll drag you down. Keller says, you are the product of your environment. Design it intentionally. So audit your environment. Is your workspace conducive to deep work? If not, fix it. Are the people around you lifting you up or pulling you down? If they're pulling you down, distance yourself. Are your daily routines supporting your one thing? If not, redesign them. Your environment should make doing your one thing easy and avoiding distractions hard. These 4 thieves will try to steal your success. But now you know what they are, and when you see them coming, you can guard against them. Say no. Embrace chaos. Protect your health. Design your environment. Because extraordinary results require extraordinary protection. Chapter 7. Living with Purpose. Here's a question that will change your life. Why? Why are you pursuing your one thing? What's the deeper purpose behind it? Because if your one thing isn't connected to a bigger purpose, you won't sustain it. Keller says the most successful people aren't just chasing goals, they're living on purpose, with purpose. And when you live with purpose, everything changes. Purpose gives you clarity. It tells you what matters and what doesn't. Purpose gives you energy. It fuels you on days when motivation fades. Purpose gives you resilience. It helps you push through obstacles that would stop others. So how do you find your purpose? Keller suggests asking the focusing question at the highest level, what's the one thing I want my life to be about? Not what do you want to achieve? What do you want your life to stand for? For some people, it's family. For others, it's making a difference. For others, it's creating something beautiful. There's no right answer. Only your answer. But once you know it, everything else falls into place. Your one thing becomes the vehicle for living your purpose. For example, if your purpose is to provide for your family, then your one thing at work might be to get promoted or start a business that increases your income. If your purpose is to make a difference, then your one thing might be to mentor others or create something that solves a problem. See how that works? Your purpose guides your one thing. And your one thing serves your purpose. But here's the warning. Don't confuse success with purpose. Success is external. Money, status, achievements. Purpose is internal. Meaning, fulfillment, legacy. You can be successful and empty, or you can be purposeful and fulfilled. Keller shares research from Dr. Martin Seligman, former president of the American Psychological Association. Seligman identified 5 factors that contribute to lasting happiness. 1. Positive emotion and pleasure. 2. Achievement. 3. Relationships. 4. Engagement. 5. Meaning of these 5, the most important are engagement and meaning. Engagement means being fully immersed in what you're doing. That's flow. That's what happens when you work on your one thing. Meaning is about contributing to something bigger than yourself. That's purpose. If your work has engagement and meaning, you'll be happier than someone who's rich but disconnected from purpose. So don't just chase money or status. Chase purpose. And let your one thing be the tool that helps you live it. Here's your action step. Take 10 minutes today and write down your purpose. What do I want my life to be about? Be honest. Don't write what you think you're supposed to say. Write what you actually believe. Once you have it, keep it visible. Read it every day. Let it guide every decision, because when your one thing is connected to your purpose, you're unstoppable. Chapter 8. Your one thing starts now. We've covered a lot. The domino effect, the lies, the focusing question, time blocking, the 3 commitments, the 4 thieves, living with purpose. But now comes the most important part. What are you going to do about it? Because knowledge without action is useless. And you don't need more information. You need implementation. So here's your action plan. Simple, clear, immediate. Step 1, ask the focusing question. Right now, ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do this week such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Write it down. Be specific. Step 2, time block for it. Look at your calendar. Find a block of time this week, at least 1 hour, preferably more. Schedule it. Protect it. Treat it like the most important appointment of your week, because it is. Step 3, eliminate the 4 thieves. Before that time block arrives, prepare. Say no to distractions. Accept that some things will be chaotic. Protect your energy. Design your environment. Step 4, do it. When that time block arrives, do your one thing, nothing else. No multitasking, no checking email, no distractions, just your one thing. Step 5, repeat. The next day, ask the focusing question again. What's my one thing today? And do it again and again and again, because success isn't one big action. It's thousands of small actions, all aligned, all sequential, all building momentum. Keller shares one final story. When he started his real estate company, he didn't have a big office. He didn't have fancy technology. He didn't have a huge team. He had one thing, a commitment to recruiting the best agents. Every day, he focused on that one thing: recruiting, building relationships, attracting talent. And over time, that one thing built the largest real estate franchise in the world. Not because he did a million things, but because he did one thing better than anyone else. That's the power of the one thing. It's not flashy. It's not complicated. It's not sexy. But it works. So stop trying to do everything. Stop spreading yourself thin. Stop chasing a million priorities. Find your one thing and push that domino. Because once it falls, everything else follows. And one day, you'll look back and realize that one thing changed everything. So there you have it, the one thing. The surprisingly simple truth behind extraordinary results. Not more effort, not more hustle, not more stress, just one thing. Done with focus, done with purpose, done consistently. And when you do that, everything else falls into place. So what's your one thing? What's the domino you need to push today? Write it down, schedule it, protect it, and do it. Because your future self is counting on you. If this video gave you clarity, smash that like button. Share it with someone who's trying to do too much. And subscribe, because we're breaking down more books that cut through the noise and give you what actually works. The one thing doesn't care about excuses. It only responds to focus. So go focus. See you in the next one.